In this video, we're going to create a new Mobile Flex project using IntelliJ IDEA. So the first thing we want to do is go to where we installed our Apache Flex SDK and just copy that location. In IntelliJ IDEA, we'll want to create a new project. So let's choose that. And here we can choose the type of project we want to create. By default, IntelliJ IDEA has all of these different projects, including Flash. So we're going to want to choose that. And for target platform, we don't want to choose web. We want to choose mobile, in the case of a mobile Flex application. And for output type, we want to choose application, which is the default. Target devices are Android and iOS. That's fine. For the Flex Air SDK, we actually don't have an SDK available to us in IntelliJ IDEA when we first started up. So here's where we need to actually browse to that directory that we just copied. So I'm going to hit the Browse button and choose plus to add an SDK. And here we want to choose Flex/Air SDK. And we can, of course, just pop that location in there and choose OK. And now we have that particular Apache Flex SDK that we can use right here and hit OK. So now that's registered with our application. Target player is 17 in this case. We can create a sample app for this new project. We can always rename this if we want to. I'm just going to keep it at the default and hit next. Now we can give it a project name. So the name I'll give this project is simply Mobile Flex. And you can, of course, name this whatever you like. And for the project location, you can choose whichever location you like. You'll notice down here is more settings. You don't really need to worry about this too much. If you know what you're doing, you can play with those. I'm going to keep them at the default and hit finish. At this point, IntelliJ is going to create our project for us. And note that this could take a while if this is the first time you're creating a Mobile Flex project inside of IntelliJ IDEA. Okay, so it looks like it's created the project for us. So let's have a look at exactly what we have here. You'll notice that it comes up with this main.mxml file, and this is the main file we have. It stubs this out for us. If we twirl down external libraries, we can see that we do indeed have the Apache Flex library that we specified and everything involved in that. If we twirl down Mobile Flex, we can see an IDEA folder, which is actually the project file that IDEA uses. So we don't ever want to mess with this. We also have a SRC. This is our source folder, which has our main.mxml file, which is displayed right here. And that is exactly what Apache Flex inside IntelliJ IDEA does for us for a default application. So let's actually go ahead. You'll notice here that we have this Mobile Flex configuration. Let's run this right now and just see what happens. All right, so here is a basic Flex application that's being run in this mobile simulator. So using the simulator, we can choose to rotate left to see it in landscape view, or right if you want to. For Android simulation, we have the back button, the menu button, and the search button. Let's just close this out. So we have the very basics of an application created for us, which is really nice. A couple things you might want to note. So here we have edit configurations, and these are our build configurations. So let's go in here and have a look. You'll notice that under Flash app, we have Mobile Flex. And here is specified the build configuration that we have. If we want to, we can override our main class. And we can choose here to run it as an emulator, run it on an Android device, iOS simulator if you have a Mac, or an iOS device. Here, you're probably going to want to use emulator nearly most of the time until you get to the point where you want to test it on a real device. And there are a number of different profiles you can use for this. And that's basically what we have here. So let's hit OK. The next thing you want to look at is the project structure, and you get to that with this icon here. So here you can see for Project SDK, there's no SDK defined. If you wish, you can always choose to select the Apache Flex SDK that you've already defined. It doesn't matter that much. For project compiler output, you may have noticed when we actually built the application for the first time that it created this out folder which appears in red. This is what specifies what that folder will be called. Under modules, you can see that we have Mobile Flex and our Mobile Flex app. Now here we have a number of different things that you might want to look at if you are looking at changing things like compiler options. So we have our name of the application here. We can specify the main class, the output file name, and so forth. We can also specify dependencies. Of course, right now we only have the Flex SDK. Compiler options. So right now we have a debuggable application, which is good for development, of course, because we can debug what's going on by using the little debug feature instead of the run feature. We can also add additional compiler options here. So if you wanted to use something like the Android or iOS skins that Apache Flex allows you to use, you can specify those here. And then we have our options particular to Android and iOS. If we want to actually build our project, we can choose Build and Package our application. And at this point, we can specify what we're doing. Is this a release version for Android? Same thing for iOS. Is this Apple App Store distribution, and so forth. For Android, you can also choose whether it's captive runtime or not, which means that someone wouldn't have to install separately the Adobe Air application as well as your application. If you choose captive runtime, it's all contained in one application. You wouldn't have to worry about that. And then you hit package, assuming you have a proper signature files and license files and so forth for all these different things. Right now we're just going to hit cancel. And that's the basics of setting up Apache Flex mobile application in IntelliJ IDEA.